Hello and welcome back to the last part of our toggle button, where we are changing the checkbox into a switch button. So now the remaining part of this very video is to be using this checkbox to change the background of this element, and also change this text to white, and also change this button background to another color. So to do that, we are going to be using a little bit of JavaScript. So in my VS Code, I'm just going to add a class here of app.js. Okay, so if I click on enter, I think I already linked it here. So if you want to link your script tag, you are going to be using the script keyword to reference your file. So let me write that again. So here I'm just going to be grabbing the app.js. Okay, when I save this, nothing is going to happen because we have not write anything inside of our file. So now I'm just going to be using the const variable to grab her element from the HTML and add event listener to it. So now I'm just going to name this variable or switch button. You can name this variable anything you like, but for the sake of this lesson, I'm going to be using a switch button. Okay, so is equals to document dot get element by ID. I want you to get the ID of check in the HTML, so I'm going to be showing you that in a second. Okay, so check. So if you go back into your HTML here, and if you look into your inputs here, you will see our ID of check. We already have a class of check. That is what we use to style our input. So in the JavaScript, we are going to be grabbing it with this ID. Although they are the same name, we can use the get element by class name, but for the sake of this lesson, I'm just going to be using get element by ID, and I'm going to be getting the ID of check. Okay, so now we are going to be adding some event listener to this variable of switch button. Okay, so let me just copy this and put it here. So I'm just going to say dot add event listener, and I'm going to be using the event of click. So when I click on the event, it should add this class, the class I'm going to be declaring in a second. Okay, so I'm going to be using the arrow function and say the document should look into the body, and have the class list. The class list I'm going to be declaring in a second. So dot toggle, you should toggle the class list. Toggle means that is off, you should turn it on. It is like vice versa, you get. So I'm just going to add this class, the class of dark. Okay, so when I save this, nothing is going to happen. So when I go back into my CSS here, I'm just going to declare that class of dark, the class of dark that is going to be toggled. So now this is where the CSS variable is useful. So now the class of toggle that is there, what I need to do to it is so inside of my CSS, I'm going to be grabbing all this variable that is here, and I'm going to be assigning another color to them. Okay, I'm going to be grabbing this. Okay, so and I'm going to be pasting it here. What does this mean? So I'm going to be pasting it here, and I'm going to be assigning another colors to them. So anywhere this dark class sees a variable with this color, it is going to change the primary color to the color that is inside of this dark, which means this dark element that we grab here with the JavaScript is going to be toggling with the checkbox. Okay, so now let's declare another color for our dark variables. Okay, so firstly, I'm going to be changing the container background to another color. You can use any preferred color that you want, but for the sake of this lesson, I'm going to be using these color codes. Okay, 3C think I have this 3C before. So 3C4750. Okay, so that is what primary color should change to. So in our root we have a primary color of CCC. So in the dark variable now we have the primary color as this color code. So the text color should now change to a white color. You can use a white, you can use any color you want. The text color is going to be changing with that JavaScript. So now FF4. Okay, so the text color should change to that. Initially that is white, but I just want to add a little bit of color to it. So the button color should change to this color here, BC6588D. Okay, so the general white should be the same thing as the general white that we are using. Okay, so now let's save this. So the only place we use the general white is inside of this, the text inside of this button, so we do not need to change it. So now let's go back, and if you want to change any other colors, this is where to change it. You are just going to make sure that your root is having the same name as the class you declared for your JavaScript. So now let's save this too and run our code and see if this thing starts toggling. Okay, so let's run it. If you toggle this, nothing is happening. I think the JavaScript is having a little bit of error. Okay, so I think we did not have a comma here. Okay, so when I save this and run our browser, this should toggle and the background of this color should change. So when I toggle it back, this color should remain as it is before. So now when I toggle this, the color of the text changes, the background changes, the button color too changes. So I think we have a clear vision on how to transform a checkbox into a switch button and how to use the CSS variable to change the background of our website. And literally this is how to add a dark and light mode to your website. I hope you enjoyed this video. See you in the next one.